Sometimes it isn't the loudest voice in the room that holds the most power. Sometimes it's the person sitting in silence, watching, listening, feeling everything like a storm behind their eyes. They don't explain themselves often. They don't need to. Their presence speaks. And for those who truly see, it shakes something deep. You know someone like that, or maybe you are that someone. There's a kind of spiritual energy that doesn't beg for attention. It just is. The kind that pulls people in without trying. The kind that makes others wonder, who are you really? And not because of what you do, but because of what you carry. This quiet force, this undeniable depth. People with powerful spiritual energy don't need to advertise it, but their lives are different. Their wounds cut deeper. Their emotions run stronger. Their relationships feel more intense. And the world doesn't always know what to do with them. Maybe you've always felt just a little too much, too sensitive, too observant, too affected by things other people seem to brush off. You walk into a room and feel everything: the tension behind a smile, the grief hiding behind someone's small talk. You're not imagining it. That's part of your gift. But a gift can feel like a curse when no one teaches you how to carry it. So what if those feelings you've been trying to tone down, the sensitivity, the solitude, the way you just know things, what if those were the signs? What if they weren't flaws to fix, but signals of something rare? A signal that you carry something spiritual, something powerful, something ancient. This video will reveal 7 signals often found in people who hold powerful spiritual energy, the kind that Carl Jung explored in his deeper work on the soul and the unconscious, but stripped from theory and spoken in the language of real life, of pain, of longing, of truth. Each signal will speak to something inside you. You may have never put into words, but always knew was there. If you find yourself nodding, tearing up, or feeling like I'm speaking directly to you, it's because I am. That's what this space is for people like you. So take a breath, settle in, and if this already feels like something your heart needed, don't forget to like this video and subscribe, not out of habit, but because you've found a voice that sees yours. Let's begin. The first signal is this. You feel everything but can't always explain why. You've probably lost count of how many times someone's told you you're too sensitive. Maybe they laughed when you cried during a movie, or they got frustrated when you needed a moment alone to breathe. And you started to believe that your feelings were a flaw. That being deeply affected meant being weak. But here's the truth. No one told you your emotions are not random. They are your compass. People with strong spiritual energy don't just feel for themselves, they feel for the world. You sense the shifts in energy when someone enters a room. You carry the weight of other people's pain like it's your own. Not because you're dramatic, but because your soul is tuned into a frequency most people can't hear. It's not always convenient. You might absorb tension like a sponge. You might lie awake, replaying someone else's sadness in your chest. You might need more space than others just to stay balanced. And sometimes it can feel isolating, like no one understands how heavy it is to feel this much. But that weight, that's the sign. It means your heart is awake. It means your spirit didn't harden, not even when life gave it every reason to. Most people learn to shut down their emotions just to get through the day. But you still feel. That's not a weakness, that's strength. It's your first signal. And here's the second. You see through people like glass. Not in a judgmental way, not in a superior way, but in a quiet, undeniable way. You can sit across from someone who's smiling and know they're not okay. You sense the distance in someone's eyes even when their words are close. You hear what people don't say. You read between their pauses. You notice the way their tone shifts when they talk about certain things. Sometimes it hurts. Because people lie not always to hurt you, but to protect themselves. And you pick up on the lies, even the small ones. And it can make the world feel dishonest, fake, exhausting. But here's what you may not have realized. You're not just seeing others, you're mirroring them. Your energy acts like a reflection. That's why strangers tell you things they've never told anyone. That's why people feel safe around you and sometimes afraid of you too. They feel seen. And being seen is vulnerable. This sight, this inner vision, is ancient. It has nothing to do with logic and everything to do with soul. You may not always know what to say, but you know what's there. That's the second sign. You see, and here comes the third. You're drawn to solitude, but you hate feeling alone. It's a strange kind of tension. You crave silence, peace, nature, anything that quiets the noise of the world. You love disappearing into music, into books, into thoughts that have no clear ending. You feel most at home when no one is demanding anything from you. But at the same time, you ache for deep connection. You long to be seen, really seen. You want someone who doesn't just sit beside you, but meets you where you are, down in the layers, under the surface, inside the ache. People with strong spiritual energy often live between these two needs, the need for retreat and the need for resonance. It's not that you don't like people, you just can't do small talk. You can't fake laugh. You can't stay in places where the energy is loud, but the connection is hollow. So you end up alone, even in a crowded room, even in relationships, especially in relationships where you have to shrink just to stay. But here's what you need to hear. Your solitude is sacred. It's not emptiness. It's where your energy clears. It's where your soul breathes. You're not broken for needing space. You're not too much for needing depth. That's your signal. Your third, you feel, you see, you withdraw not to escape, but to return to yourself. If this speaks to you, pause, let it settle. Don't rush ahead. Let your own heart say, yes, that's me. Then when you're ready. The fourth sign is one you've tried to hide, even from yourself. You carry pain that doesn't always belong to you. Since you were young, you felt responsible for the emotions in the room. You tried to keep the peace. You tried to make others feel okay even when you weren't okay yourself. If someone was angry, you took it personally. If someone was sad, you made it your job to fix it. And if something went wrong, you quietly wondered, was it my fault? This isn't just empathy, it's something deeper. It's energetic, spiritual. People with powerful spiritual energy absorb the emotions around them, not just out of kindness, but because their soul is wired for healing. You feel when something is off, and you don't look away. You reach for it, you take it on, even if it breaks you a little. But there's a cost. Carry enough of other people's wounds and you start to forget which ones are your own. You begin to live in survival mode, always on alert, always scanning the room. You become the fixer, the peacemaker, the one who holds everything together while quietly falling apart. And it doesn't stop with people. You might cry over songs you've never heard before, feel grief during a sunset, sense the history inside old buildings. You're tuned into something timeless and it aches. You carry echoes in your body that your mind can't explain. This is the fourth sign, and it's why you're tired in ways rest doesn't fix. You're not just physically tired, you're spiritually exhausted from holding the unspoken. But listen, you are allowed to put it down. You are allowed to return what isn't yours. Your energy is precious. Your healing matters too. And when you finally let go of the weight that was never yours to carry, you'll remember how light you're meant to feel. Now the fifth sign, you feel disconnected from the world, but deeply connected to something greater. You've probably gone through long stretches of time where nothing felt real. The world seemed shallow. The conversations felt pointless. The goals everyone chased didn't move you. You looked around and thought, is this it? While others seemed content with routines and surface-level success, you were restless, haunted by a hunger you couldn't name. This isn't depression, it's spiritual dissonance. You know there's more than what we see, more than what we're taught to want, and that knowing, that whisper that says, this isn't all there is, has guided your whole life. You might have chased jobs, relationships, recognition, and still felt empty, because none of it touched your soul. None of it matched your truth. But when you sit under the stars, or hear a melody that feels eternal, or lock eyes with someone and sense lifetimes in a single glance, then you feel real. Then you remember who you are. Not your name, not your role, but your essence. People with powerful spiritual energy often feel like outsiders, like they were dropped into a world that doesn't speak their language. But that language still exists in quiet moments, in beauty, in mystery, in love that doesn't ask you to shrink. So if you've ever felt lost in this world, know that it's because your soul remembers another one. That's your fifth sign. You carry pain that isn't always yours. You question everything, and your heart beats to a rhythm the world forgot how to hear. Take a deep breath. Let it out slowly. You are remembering something. Let's keep going. The sixth sign is one that often disguises itself as self-doubt, but it's not weakness. It's a quiet knowing that never goes away. There's something inside you that whispers when everything else is loud. It speaks softly when your mind is racing. It nudges you in directions that don't always make sense. You've tried to ignore it. You've second-guessed it. You've asked yourself, what if I'm wrong? But somehow, you always knew. You knew when someone wasn't telling the truth, even before they said a word. You knew when you had to walk away, even though your heart wasn't ready. You knew when something big was coming, a change, a loss, a breakthrough before anyone else could feel it. This is not overthinking. This is not paranoia. This is intuition. It doesn't scream. It doesn't beg for attention. It just is. And for people with powerful spiritual energy, it's one of your most sacred signals. But here's the thing. You live in a world that taught you to mistrust yourself, to value logic over feeling, to demand proof before peace. So you started silencing your own knowing. You started outsourcing your decisions. You stopped listening to the voice that had never led you wrong. And yet, it never left you. That whisper is still there, in the pit of your stomach, in the flutter of your heart, in the moment you meet someone and just know they'll change your life or break it. The challenge is not finding your intuition, it's trusting it, trusting yourself, even when the world tells you to wait, to doubt, to follow the path that looks safer on paper. You don't need a map, you are the compass. And that brings us to the seventh and final signal. You've been broken, and it didn't destroy you, it opened you. Every person with powerful spiritual energy has walked through something that should have crushed them, a loss that stole their breath, a betrayal that shattered their trust, a moment where everything went silent and the only voice left was their own, whispering, "Keep going." Your scars are not proof of damage, they're proof of depth. You've loved people who didn't know how to love you back. You've stayed when you should have left. You've bent until you broke, just to keep someone else whole. And yet, after all of it, you still believe in softness. You still believe in healing. You still hold the door open for love. That's not weakness. That's spiritual power. Your energy didn't come from nowhere. It was forged in grief, in silence, in moments when you had nothing but your own breath and a prayer no one heard. People with strong spiritual energy are not born that way by accident. They are tempered by fire. Not to be burned, but to be bright, to become a light for others who are still lost in the dark. And maybe that's why you're here, not to be understood by everyone, not to fit in, but to remember yourself, to reclaim what's always been yours, and to finally stop asking for permission to feel as deeply, see as clearly, and love as fiercely as you do. You've always been this. You just forgot for a while. So now, take a breath. Feel your body. Feel your truth. You feel everything. You see beyond the mask. You retreat to heal. You carry what others can't. You question the world's rhythm. You know what you can't explain. You've been broken, and now you glow from the inside. This is who you are. Maybe no one ever told you that. Maybe they only pointed out what made you different, but never honored what made you rare. So you learned to hide. You shrank your light to keep others comfortable. You laughed when you were hurting. You stayed quiet when you wanted to scream. And somewhere along the way, you started to believe that your power was a problem. But it's not. It never was. The truth is, people with strong spiritual energy often go unnoticed. because they aren't loud about what they carry. They don't demand to be seen. They simply are, and that's what makes them unforgettable. You don't need to prove yourself. You don't need to explain why you feel more, why you care more, why you can't be fake even when it would be easier. You are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to be true. That's it. Your journey might feel lonely at times because the deeper you go, the fewer people you'll find. But the ones who do meet you at that depth, those are the ones who see your soul, not just your smile. And something else happens too. When you stop pretending, when you let your real energy rise, people feel it. Even if they don't have the words for it, they sense it. Some will be drawn to you. Some will be scared of you. Both reactions are reflections of your light. Because when you carry this kind of energy, you mirror people back to themselves. You awaken what they've buried. And not everyone is ready for that. But that's not your burden. Your only task is to stay with yourself, to protect your peace, to honor your knowing, to speak gently to your pain, to move through the world like someone who remembers they are made of something eternal. There will be days you forget, you'll feel heavy, you'll question your worth, you'll fall back into old patterns, into old stories. That's okay, that's human. Just don't stay there, don't unpack your soul in places that don't feel safe. Don't betray your own heart just to keep the peace. Don't ignore the signs when they whisper, "This is not for you." You are allowed to change. You are allowed to grow out of places and people who cannot hold your truth. You are allowed to want more than survival. You are allowed to want beauty, depth, and peace, even if no one around you understands it. Especially if no one around you understands it, because that means you are the first to break the pattern, the first to come back to life, the first to speak the truth out loud. And when you do, others will hear it, and they will remember their truth too. That's how your energy heals, not by fixing anyone, but by being so real that it gives others permission to be real too. Take another breath. Let this all settle in your body. You don't have to become anything. You already are. So much of your life might have felt like a search for love, for purpose, for a place where you could just be without having to shrink or pretend. And maybe that search has worn you down. Maybe you've started to wonder if what you're looking for even exists. But here's what no one told you. You're not just searching for a place, you're remembering a state, a way of being that feels like home. And home isn't out there, it's inside you. You've spent years shape-shifting, playing roles, being strong when you were breaking, being quiet when your truth was screaming. You learned how to keep others comfortable at the cost of your own peace. And maybe you got praise for it. People called you kind, empathic, loyal. But underneath that, there was a question you didn't dare ask out loud. Who's gonna hold me like I hold everyone else? You've given your energy to people who never knew how to receive it. You've opened your heart to people who couldn't hold their own. You've stayed in places where your magic went unnoticed or worse, punished. That pain didn't make you bitter. It made you wise. It taught you that love without safety is just survival. That not everyone deserves access to your inner world. That protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's sacred. And somewhere along the way, you stopped needing to be understood by everyone. You stopped trying to explain your heart to people who only listen with their ego. You stopped offering your truth like a gift to those who didn't even see it as valuable. You started coming back to yourself. That's the shift. That's the real awakening. When you no longer abandon yourself to be chosen, when you choose you not in theory, not in words, but in practice, in boundaries, in silence. In walking away when the energy doesn't feel right. People with powerful spiritual energy don't follow the crowd. They walk the cliff edges. They cross thresholds. They stand at the border between what is and what could be. And yes, it's lonely, but it's also where the view is clearest. You weren't made to blend in. You were made to light the way. And lighting the way doesn't always look like leading others. Sometimes it looks like healing your own wounds so they don't become someone else's inheritance. Sometimes it looks like crying in the dark and choosing to get up anyway. Sometimes it looks like forgiving yourself for who you had to be in order to survive. This is the work that no one sees, but it shifts everything. Your energy is not just a presence, it's a frequency. It changes the room, it changes people, but more than anything, it changes you. It's not something you use, it's something you are. And when you stop fighting it, when you stop trying to make yourself smaller, more acceptable, less intense, your life begins to align. You meet people who feel like peace. You enter spaces that feel like freedom. You make choices that feel like truth. Not because anything outside you changed, but because you did. Let yourself feel that. Let it be real. Let it land. There's a moment quiet, almost unnoticeable when everything shifts. Not because something dramatic happens, not because the world suddenly softens, but because you decide to stop betraying yourself. You wake up one morning and realize you're done fighting your own nature. You're done apologizing for how much you feel. You're done pretending your soul is an ancient and soft and fierce all at once. That's the moment your spiritual energy stops hiding. It doesn't ask permission. It doesn't beg to be seen. It simply rises. You begin to walk differently, speak differently, not louder but clearer. You say no without explaining. You say yes without guilt. You make space for your rituals, your peace, your healing. You stop reaching for people who let go of you. You stop begging the world to understand your heart. And the people who never truly saw you, they might fall away. That's okay. Because the ones who do see you will meet you without fear. They won't flinch when you speak your truth. They won't ask you to be less so they can be more. They won't run from your storms. They'll sit with you inside them. These are the soul connections. The real ones. The ones your energy was always calling in, even when your wounds were still answering the phone. But those connections can't arrive until you choose to stop dimming yourself. You have to stop shrinking to fit the life that was never made for your depth. You have to stop walking with people who can't walk beside your truth. You have to stop building homes and hearts that only ever wanted to rent you. This is not bitterness. This is clarity. You're not angry. You're aware that your energy is a mirror, and not everyone is ready to look into it. Aware that your heart speaks a language most people forgot. Aware that your softness is not fragility, it's power. You've been taught that being spiritual means being calm, gentle, always smiling. But real spiritual energy is messy. It's fire and water, grief and gratitude, shadow and light. It breaks you open, not to destroy you, but to make space for the truth. And the truth is this: you are not here to be liked. You are here to remember, to return to the part of you that was never lost, only buried. Under shame, under silence, under the weight of trying to be enough for people who never even saw the real you. But I see you, and if you're still listening, it means you see you too. That's where the healing begins. Not in changing yourself, but in recognizing yourself again. Thank you for being here truly. If this touched something inside you, if you felt recognized in these words, don't let that moment pass. Like this video, subscribe, leave a comment, even just a single word. Your presence here matters more than you know. Someone else out there is waiting for a voice that sounds like theirs. Maybe that voice is yours.